What's going on, everybody? Here is part 2 of my conversation with Bald Cafe. We are diving deep into all things men, talking about body image, the difference between shaving your head and wearing a hair system, and really how we're all trying to move forward together and make good choices that better ourselves as men. So make sure you watch this entire thing. I really recommend that you do. And if you appreciate it, leave a comment and a like on the video. One of the things that you hit on is that like emotion, where there's a reaction, there's emotion, right? If we look at Tony Robbins or people that talk about like how do we cause a massive change in our life, it needs to be an emotional decision. The more emotion, the more powerful it is in the moment. It doesn't stay though. We can't use that space forever. We can't stay in the emotion. What has to happen after is this journey of almost in a weird way, letting go of it and releasing it after that. Because if we stay in this emotional place, like we can't, it becomes too consuming that we almost have to give up in a lot of ways. I think about, this is a little bit off track, but I've been basically training to compete in CrossFit at a high level. And I've been having to learn, like break down, go back to the very beginning of things like the clean and jerk and snatch, which are highly technical Olympic lift movements. And at the beginning, like I got so emotional that I hired a coach to work on my specific issues. And that was great. It was what I needed in order to like take that momentum. But after the fact, I was still so emotional about the fact that I wasn't perfect in my lifts after that. And like, the training I was doing after 2 months hadn't like paid off, and I wasn't perfect, that I realized that was actually holding me back. The thing that allowed me to move forward is now the thing that was holding me back. And that was being too emotional, not letting go, and just kind of going for the ride of what the journey looks like.
And I think you used the word earlier about growth, right? And I think that's probably one of the most useful words in that whole thing of, I think part of growth is letting go of things. You have to let go of those certain things to move forward. If you're constantly trying to hold on to something, whatever that is, it just doesn't allow you to move on. And I often use metaphors like that for the whole shaved head thing. And I don't know how specific you want to get on my opinions of the head shave or different uses, but I've also come to kind of know that. I mean, I see the shaved head thing as two things really. And the first thing it is for a lot of guys when they do it, when they go for it, when they take the leap, is it's a catalyst. It's a shock of rewiring that body image that I described earlier. These guys have spent years, a lot of them feeling, like I said, worthless, feeling, a horrible body image, that they just feel ashamed, all of that stuff, not allowing them to enjoy aspects of their life, just everything piled on top of them. And I just imagine it in like a huge like net that they're of like rocks and just baggage that they've been dragging behind themselves, and when you literally cut that away, and it just frees you up even for that initial second to just rewire all of those things, all of those, like that narrative that you've been telling yourself of like, you're going to look disgusting when you're older, you're not going to get the job, all of the same ones that we're going to think, you're not going to get the girl or whatever you're into, you're not going to have that amazing life that you've been dreaming of. And when you constantly tell yourself things like that over the years, over that time, it gets very heavy, and when you free yourself of that and you look in the mirror, and again, this is not going to be for everyone, as you said, like depending on how kind of invested you are in hair as a thing, it's suddenly like you've done this thing that you've feared for so long. You've arrived at that point that you had been in so much fear of. You're bald now, and that's one of the biggest things. And suddenly you no longer fear it because you're there, and so all of those narratives are kind of, they have far less value and validation, and it gives you that break from it all. And I suppose that's that's one of the biggest things that it comes to. And I mean, I said there were two things, and I kind of mixed them together, but it's that catalyst for changing the body image. And really, I was also going to say it's just like a kind of, not to do it disservice, but at the end of the day, what is it? It's a haircut, isn't it? And this is the way I see it now. It's just a convenient haircut for guys who have like thin, not a full head of hair to get any kind of style that they want with, you know. And again, you know, it's a journey. There's different things that I talk about in certain videos. This, you know, of guys can get really hung up on, you've got to keep it dead, you know, dead neat, so that there's no sign of any kind of balding. I mean, it's the same thing. If you're using it to kind of hide, again, that's going to get heavy over time. That's going to be uncomfortable. So, you know, you've got to expand your comfort zone on it, where you can walk around town like this two weeks in, you know, and this isn't going to be for everyone. But if you can arrive at this point, and don't get me wrong, like I much prefer I've grown this out a little bit for content reasons. I've got a few videos planned. I don't usually walk around like this, but yeah, you know, if you can arrive at this point where it is what it is, you know, and that fresh cut that you get is just like when you used to get your hair cut when you were 15, you walk fresh out the barbers and you look and feel great. You know, I'm not sure how often you have to get the hair system freshened up, but I'm sure when you've done it, you know, after time and things just look a bit neater, you know, you just feel better. And that's really what it is like with the kind of whole head shave thing as well. But I totally messed up my kind of the two reasons, but the most important thing I kind of said there again was that the whole it goes back to that body image thing, you know, and you've done that thing that you've been so fearful of for so long, and you can start to challenge that horrible narrative that you've been telling yourself, that if you've got no hair, it's going to be the end of your life, it's going to be the end of your world. And often, you know, more often than not, at least in my experience, it's quite the contrary, you know. So that's where I align with that. Shall I just go for like what I kind of think, my whole opinion on hair systems and hair transplants and things like that? I don't know if you were going to arrive at that question. So, I mean, you know, I guess it makes sense to kind of explain my stance on that. You know, I think if you're going down that route, any route, even like I just mentioned there with the head shave thing, like you have to be in a position where it's your truth. You know, I think my buddy Max De Silva kind of used that term, being the true you. And I just think that guys will have far much more success with any of those options if they're totally comfortable in, I guess, like knowing and recognizing it for what it is, you know. So I think if you go from, let's say I'm hiding my bald spot when I was 26, and I hadn't told anyone about it, and I was so in fear of anyone pointing it out or commenting on it. And in secret, I go off to the barber shop and I get a hair system done, you know, in total secret. And I don't want anyone to know. I think this looks great, you know, this is awesome. But I think if I haven't dealt with that, with what has really happened, you know, that's not my hair. You know, I was losing my hair. I'm wearing a hair system now. And if I'm in fear of people knowing or finding out, or me kind of really acknowledging that, over time, I feel that's going to get heavy. You know, that burden of me not being fully comfortable with people knowing or whatever is going to get heavy. And I'm not going to feel good. I'm always going to still have that undertone of kind of like shame or whatever. Even when I speak to guys now and they've like had the hair transplant, rocked it for 20 years, eventually they were like, I don't know, for whatever reasons, they want to shave their head, but they're like, I'm good, I've got scars or whatever, and I'm ashamed of people knowing. And my response is always like, dude, like that was part of your journey. Like, what are you ashamed of? Like, just be that guy. Like, if someone asks you, just that's what you've done. You've got nothing to be ashamed of. Just say that's what you've done. And once that's out there, you've got nothing left to hide. And that's really what this is as well with the shaved head. Like, dude, I'm a guy who lost my hair, like, you know, doesn't have a full head of hair. I shaved my head. Like, what do I have to be ashamed about? What do I have to be embarrassed about? And when you're in that space, whatever route it is, I should say, you know, with the hair system, whatever, you have nothing to be afraid of. What on earth can someone say that makes you feel bad about it, you know? Because you're the one who's not necessarily offering up the information. I'm not saying if you're wearing a hair system or you've had a hair transplant, you need to go around with a t-shirt on or something telling everyone that that's what you've done. But don't be in a position where you're going to be afraid if someone knows or finds out or wants to know, you know? Let that be your truth. Let that be who you are, and you'll have nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to be embarrassed about, and you're going to have a way more comfortable time in anything that you do if that's who you are, you know. And unfortunately, I think the side of the kind of how do I describe those ways of concealing it and stuff like that are often used as ways to kind of cover the whole thing up, you know. And and when you're putting a lid on it, like I said, that pressure builds because you're thinking, is someone going to find out? Can someone tell? Is someone noticing, or whatever, you know? And it's just not the best space that you can be in comfortably. And I'm not saying everyone's going to get there day 2 and want to tell everyone about it, but even if you go, let's say you go down the hair system route, if over time you can get more and more comfortable with that, which I know a lot of guys do, which is great, I think that's how you're going to win out in the end with whatever road you take with it. You know, that's really how you're going to win out. And I just know that often they're used as ways to cover the whole thing up. And I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think that's a good thing, you know, which is where I'm at on that, basically. I just think it's not a good space to be in.
Yeah, well, I 100% agree with you on that, because one of the best things I ever did was actually like show everyone this entire journey that I've gone through. It has been the most emotionally healthy experience that I've had, because I mean, there's freedom on the side of just truth, right?
Great word.
And that's what either of these decisions is about. First, you know, dealing with your hair loss, whatever the solution is, a rite of passage. It's about confronting something that makes you very human, because we're imperfect humans, and finding a solution for it, but like admitting it to yourself. And not being afraid to acknowledge it to yourself or to the world. So I agree with you on this. And like, I've watched, you know, videos on your channel where individuals do have hair systems and they're in tremendous amounts of emotional and psychological pain. And I actually made a video maybe 2 weeks ago after you interviewed a guy who'd been wearing one for 20 years, and, you know, he felt so much liberation. And I, like in the video, I said, I actually agree with Harry and Bald Cafe. I agree that this is the right choice for this guy, because he's in so much, you know, psychological stress over this. Like, this is not what a hair system is supposed to make you feel like. If you choose to wear one, that's completely missing the point here. And that was the right decision for that guy. The fact is, and why this whole issue is so sticky, is that there's no right solution for every single person. You need to do, an individual needs to do what's right for them, and that requires deep self-work to analyze oneself, to understand where one is at, and then execute on that action, and having the bravery to do whatever that is.
Sorry to cut you off, dude, but like I said earlier, that like, be who you want to be, like live, like do your truth, whatever that is, you know. And don't be embarrassed about that, don't be ashamed about it, you know, but don't feel the need to shy away, like to like cover this and be ashamed of it. That's the thing that I just want to talk about so much. And I guess I don't want to bore people, but that sense of shame, I think we've all felt it. I think you even described that earlier, you know. But even now, like my most recent video that I want to talk about and why I've kind of have this grown out or whatever is, you know, like I don't have anything to be ashamed of, right? Like this. I know there are guys who are like in that position where I was at, and they'll see a guy like me walking around like this and just feel like, oh my God, like how, like that is my worst nightmare, you know? Or just feel like I would be so ashamed like that. And I felt like that, you know, I felt like that too once, but it doesn't need to be like that. And I think that's just the message, that I'm constantly trying to send out. But no, I'm glad you saw that video with Juan. Like, such a good guy, dude. Like, to again, to have had that be this massive secret for 20 years, you know, and just kind of control everything that you do. I mean, no wonder like there was so much emotion in the end when he kind of, I mean, even I felt it, like when I talked to him, I was like, dude, you're gonna make me, like, I'm tearing up here, because this is like, I remember when we had that first chat, it was quite late at night, and I just remember getting off that call like, oh my God, like I just want for this guy so bad to be free from that, you know? And then when he hit me up, like maybe 2 months later, because I totally didn't think he was gonna go through with it, you know? Like he contacted me, he was like, dude, I love the channel, like I think this is the road I need to take, like, can we talk about it? So we, you know, I was like, dude, let's do it. We ended up talking for like 2.5 hours or something. And I remember getting off that call. He told me he was going to go for it in September, and thinking like, and he won't mind me saying this, I said this to him personally, but I was like, I honestly wasn't sure if you were gonna do it, because dude, that's such a long time, you know, and that's been your life, that's been your truth for so long, like that's so ingrained in what you do. But he was just like, no, like I was so done. Like when I know like I was done, I was totally done. And that was the right tip. That was, and again, he said like, do I regret this? Do I regret that? And he's like, and I was like, dude, that's not what is it like. That was your journey, you know, those steps, every single pain point along that road was necessary, you know, the breakups, the highs, the lows was necessary so that you can be here in front of my screen now. It was just, that whole thing was awesome to see him kind of just break free from that rut that he'd kind of found himself in. And again, like I made it a point, that video again, and I hope I did a good job, but again, I never make videos like this. I hope you'll notice, I never make 5 reasons why you should never get a hair system, 10 reasons why you should. The only time I've ever spoken on those things is me saying, this is why I didn't choose that road, you know, because again, like that's not my prerogative, you know, that's not what, I don't need to make videos like that to describe or put forth my opinions on hair loss or what roads you should take or whatever, you know, that's not what this is about. Again, if I was doing that, then you would have such a good case to be on here and be like, well, you're quite clearly in a position where you aren't comfortable with this, you know, because you're trying to make such a point of like, to put those things down. You're clearly trying to use that to raise your or justify your own opinions on just shaving your head, you know. And again, it's unfortunate. I'm sure there's people that watch my videos and that's their first thought, you know, and that's a shame. That's a shame. But I've I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, I've always tried to make content like that. Again, I tried to present that story to show basically what we've just been talking about for the last half an hour, you know, to show the journey and show the conversation, you know. And people tell me all the time, oh, why are you sat there? I don't know. And hard, like lots of people don't watch that part, you know, of where we're sitting down and we're talking about it. And he's saying to me like the different steps and his opinions, and he will say some good bits, bad bits. People just want to see, what does this guy look like, you know? And it's unfortunate that a lot of the comments will be like, oh, he looks so much better. And then someone underneath will be like, no, he looks terrible. And again, it's this thing where it's so much wrapped up in like, how does it look? Like that's everything. That's the be all and end all. How does it look? How does it look? And again, that's an unfortunate thing. And it's fortunate space and kind of mind frame to be in where you're like, you know, that is everything, or because I know a comment on that of like, he looks terrible. Again, really, it's a reflection of, I think I'm going to look terrible if that was me, you know, shaving my head. You know, that's really what a lot of it comes down to as well. But yeah, dude, I mean, just great video. Great to be able to share that experience. I'll have to check your video out on that one, actually. I haven't seen that one.
Oh boy, shouldn't have said all those things about BaldCafe. No, I'm joking. Yeah. No, it was just an analysis, like just breaking down. I thought you were being very respectful, and you know, just seeing the emotional reaction to him. Like, so it was more just kind of a response to this guy's journey, just like us having a conversation. But no, it was very fair, and everything that I've seen that you've done on your channels is never. It's never in opposition to something. It's all about the journey, and that the same thing on mine. People think I'm about hair systems. I'm actually just pro destigmatizing hair loss, and it's easy to assume those things. But you know, everything that we're saying right now, I think, can be wrapped up in a quote. Which this is from a guy named Erwin McManus. I heard this, I loved it, and it stuck with me to this day. But it says, your freedom is on the other side of your fear. Your greatness is on the other side of your pain, and your future is on the other side of your failures. So I want to end it on that note and say thank you to everybody who's watched this entire video, and whatever choice that you make, whoever you find affinity towards in your journey, whether it be me or Bald Cafe or any other channel, what we're trying to do is deepen the conversation, help you make a choice so you can live in your truth and be healthier. And I hope that this video just exposes you to the idea that we're actually all in this together, and we all want the best for all of the collective people that are watching these videos, because we know that there's a lot of psychological distress and pain. So
100%.
Thank you for watching. Thank you, Harry, for coming on. And
thank you.
Yeah, Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching the second part of my conversation with Bald Cafe, where we really got to dive deep on a lot of stuff that I think is actually more unifying than it is divisive between the two of us. If you look at our channels on the surface, they may look somewhat contradictory in the fact that Bald Cafe is basically supporting men as they are shaving their head, and I'm supporting men more so as they make a journey towards a hair system. But undeniably, both of us have a passion for men really just making choices and executing on becoming happier, on becoming more confident, and those paths are more alike than they are different. So thank you so much for watching this. If you like this video, leave a comment and a like below, and also say thank you to Bald Cafe for making the time to chat with us today. Take care, everybody.